asked here a week or two ago, I said it would be interesting if somebody out there with access to the information and more time on their hands than either one of us was to total up all of the viewership for the topic came up that NXT may be moving to Tuesdays. And I said, well, who's won this war and by how much, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, Cody likes to just brag and crow that they've demolished the competition. And this is such a good, let's see if somebody could compare the AEW and NXT viewership from start to now. And son of a gun, wouldn't you know who won the pony? And God damn it. Now I've got this. The guy sent it as a spreadsheet, and I've got the spreadsheet, but I don't have his name. Do you have the name? I may go back and find the name of this gentleman.
I wasn't prepared to find the name
later on. I will go back and see if I can find this. But basically, the entire total viewership of both these programs since they've been on the air, from what was it, October of 2019. September, October, whatever it was, to the first week of March when this was done, AEW has had 61,041,000 viewers. NXT has had 53,103,000. So over... what is that? Almost a year, over a little over a year and a half. The difference is somewhere around 80,000, right? No, 8 million. That's right, 8 million. I put my comma in the wrong place. If you go to 2019 viewership, AEW in 2019 had 10,962,000 viewers. And NXT had 10,211,000. So the average in 2019, AEW 913,500, NXT 785,462. You go to 2020, where AEW, that's a full year. That was their first full year. And basically, the averages for both shows dropped. AEW went from 913,500 to 810,755 per show. NXT went from 785,462 to 698,377, a drop for both promotions of between 11 and 11.25%.
Now, of course, if we're looking at 2020, to be fair, obviously an element of that drop would be the quality of the shows, but also the pandemic really did change things, at least early on in terms of viewership.
Oh, I can buy that. But it's been a year now, and the 2021 viewership is continuing to drop. The 2021 average for AEW is now 789,889, and the NXT average is 653,111. So the total percentage difference since episode 1 on each of those programs, AEW is down just under 14%. NXT is down just under 17%.
I guess this would be the time to mention this, even though we're about to do the review. Did you see this week's ratings compared to last week's ratings?
I did not. I have remained blissfully ignorant so you could surprise me.
So last week, which was a big episode, it was the most high-profile match I've ever had on TV with Shaquille O'Neal, major celebrity, major star, sports athlete.
Have we figured out where he went yet?
No. I did read, I think, in The Observer that apparently you got it right. It was his idea to just disappear from the ambulance, which is pretty funny.
Are you... I don't even have to try now. I could just sit in here and say, what non-wrestling minded idiot would have had this stupid idea, and I can get things right. Okay, go ahead.
So last week's, as I put it before, a sports athlete, I don't know why I put those two words together, an athlete of high renown. Last week, NXT 692, AEW 934. So a pretty big number. for Shaq. This week, coming off the pay-per-view that everyone's been talking about for good or for bad, and off last week's show, which was their biggest number in a very long time for Shaquille O'Neal, AEW 743,
Ooh.
NXT 691. And the NXT also had a loaded show, and it didn't really do anything to boost their numbers.
Do you think that the people are starting to figure out that oil in the well is really gas from Curtis and Chester's fucking gas station?
In Jeffersontown.
In Jeffersontown, on the corner next to the city hall. I'm just telling you, you can not like what I'm saying all you want, but when something is in front of you, they are not gaining viewers, they are losing viewers over a long period of time. Both companies were not taken up for NXT over AEW. Quit watching NXT because it was so fucking boring. They had the Undisputed Era and others. But AEW continues, and they will hit a peak when they somehow convince some celebrity to engage with them, and then that or something else on that program or another one of their comedic pay-per-view events or whatever will run people off. And I got to be honest, I think the lost viewers this week were as much not tuning in because Shaq wasn't there as they were also not tuning in because they were pissed off about that popcorn fart pay-per-view that they tried to explain away. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it didn't work. I really think that's I think a lot of people said, fuck, maybe they just need a minute. Maybe they just need a timeout. Maybe they'll be back next week, but good fucking God. And by the way, the gentleman name is Peter Jenkins from Pembrokeshire, UK, sent those figures in.
That is interesting because, again, the pay-per-view, AEW hardcore fans and buckaroos alike probably enjoyed that pay-per-view up until the finish. I mean, there really is no one defending that show from the moment the Good Brothers ran in until the very end. And
I mean, that does go to show how far they've warped people's perceptions of what wrestling is supposed to be, that nobody was complaining about it before that. But go ahead.
But it was something everyone was talking about. You would think, this is the first show after the pay-per-view. There would be some curiosity where people would say, I gotta see how they're going to handle this. I gotta see how they're going to deal with this. But it doesn't seem like they got any of that.
Well, because they had already tipped how they were going to deal with it. They were going to try to put the heat on the heels. And it's so bogus and so bullshit in today's environment that they have made for themselves. They made their bed, as Mama Cornette used to say. You made your bed, now you're going to have to sleep in it. Because they are the ones who have gone out of their way in every... don't take their TV show into account. Every outside the television show appearance, every media conference, every press conference, every interview they've done, they have gone out of their way to let everybody know that this is all phony as a fucking football bat. And it's all entertainment and all a show and all inclusive and all this stuff. So as I said on the show last week, the days of being able to blame the heel when he says something on TV that you told him to say that the fucking TV station gets mad about, or he does something and the fans are mad, or people writing letters angry or to the newspaper or whatever. No, it was that guy. We got rid of him. You can't do that anymore. That's when people believed in wrestling. Then they believed it was the heel's idea. They didn't know everybody was told to do everything. What they did was they perpetrated a goddamn match that they smelled the oil in the well. They were so markish for themselves, Moxley and Olivier. They thought they could do this. And Tony Khan, because this is right up his basement booking alley. On an EFED, I could have had an exploding match, and now I get to actually have it in person. That they overlooked what was going to happen that I informed them of 2 weeks beforehand. The same goddamn thing that happens every time they try to do shit like this in the wrestling business. It's not fucking Hollywood. It's not a movie. And it's going to be a popcorn fart. And that's what happened. And we played the tape last week. I'm not going to do it again and rub it in even further, but could I have? It was like I was in a time machine and described it perfectly. How am I describing the shit that happens in their company perfectly? And they spend the time and effort and the money to go through all this, and they don't know how it's going to turn out. Because they're fucking stupid, that's why. Because they smell the goddamn gas in the water well and think it's fucking oil. So now they're trying to blame the heels. Now they're trying to have the heels come out and get heat, which might work also if it was a free television show instead of a $50 pay-per-view that the company advertised was going to end with a ring blowing up. Fucking hell. Did you see somebody? What was they said? They ought to call him, instead of Twinkle Toes McFinger Bang, they ought to call him Twinkle Toes No Ring Bang. Because he can't blow up a ring, just his inflatable opponents.